Hello, Donna D'Angelo from the Institute of Christ Consciousness here. We are now on installment 7 of the series, The Correcting Time. Last time I talked about emotional history. This is something that affects us both personally, as we have our own personal emotional history throughout the course of our lives, and then the collective emotional history of the planet. We are now in a period of time where we are beginning to see so much of our past being stirred up within the heart circuit, the emotional circuit of our memory patterns, both at a collective and personal level. This stirring of these emotions is intentional. There is a massive outpouring of truth light that is being shed upon our emotional history to help us release and relieve the pain of the past, that we can step into our spiritual, moral, and intellectual potential and evolve as humans toward the higher state of Christ consciousness. This is a synergy that is occurring both at a personal and collective level. The fact that our social institutions are so unstable now reflects the fact that there is this infusion of light moving into those areas that are out of alignment with divine law and the divine plans for this planet to evolve to a higher heavenly culture. What this does within us, it begins to weaken the bonds that we have to our social institutions, and it creates insecurity and instability. Now, you could look at this as a hurtful thing, but in reality, the way I have come to understand it, and I just ask you to consider this today, that this is actually a very good thing, because it is trying to get our attention, this inner shaking or instability, because we have been rooted in social institutions that have been based on false principles, principles of greed, war, basically what you might call a global system of self-centeredness and self-interest. This is very antithetical to God's plans and God's design. For we are all unified as one in our Creator Deity Parent. And that unity exists to bring us into more close harmony, tolerance, compassion, peace, and patience with one another. So you might say that what we are undergoing at this time is the outworking of these ways of self-centeredness. And it is creating a lot of instability in people because their own self-centeredness is being compromised. And the personal sense of comfort that comes from these social institutions is now waning. The antidote for this is spiritual development. And to find that inner place of stability that comes from your spirit sources within you, the presence of spirit within, and as well, the wonderful parental influence of our spirit mother and father, who are here to shepherd us into this higher way of living. But first, we must be willing to let go of the past and to receive the love and the healing and the understanding that we need to make sense of what has happened here on this planet, so we can move beyond the limitations that the deviant planetary system foisted upon us by those planetary rulers who existed at a higher dimensional level that deviated from the divine plan over 250,000 years ago. So what we are undergoing now is very big. And in the emotional history both the collective level and the individual level, there are patterns of behavior. Much of those patterns of behavior exist at a subconscious level, an area of which we can hardly be conscious. In my experience in doing parental repatterning in our divine spirit parents, I have come across a bandwidth which might be considered resistance to divine love. Now, this may seem kind of unusual because who would want to resist divine love? It is so good. It is so fulfilling. It is so nurturing. But this is exactly what we have to encounter in our system of consciousness, because those rebels against the divine plan put in this resistance to divine love because they wanted to do things their own way. Now, this might be very difficult to accept. And at first, it was very challenging for me to understand this. But now I have done thousands of repatterning sessions, and I have come to understand that this subconscious resistance is a bandwidth that is interfering with us from moving forward, not only personally, but as a collective planetary culture. Now, there is much being outworked during this time, and we are receiving much celestial and angelic help from the higher dimensions to move in these subconscious bandwidths of resistance, to break up the old forms and to bring us into greater space so that divine love can flow into our beings. So if you are feeling very constricted, stuck, or confused, or unstable, this means that the spiritual energy is trying to get your attention. And one of the best ways to do this is to simply acknowledge that this is what you feel and ask your indwelling spirit to show you something better. A better concept, a better way of looking at this resistance and this feeling of uncomfortableness or instability, and ask to be filled with stabilization and peace. Call on your divine mother and father. And even if this is a new concept and you don't know them, ask for help. They will respond. It does take time, and sometimes we have become so conditioned by immediate gratification that exists in our material culture that we want instantaneous spiritual results. Sometimes it happens, and sometimes it takes a little while for you to perceive that divine presence within. But please trust in this and know that your spirit is invested in your highest good, and that there are ways in which you can help yourselves by developing a meditative practice each day and just sitting and listening for that divine sustenance to nurture and regenerate you. And it will appear. As well, we encourage you at the ICC to pray for the collective, to ask for the collective resistance to be seated with forgiveness and understanding. Because there are very large thought forms on our planet that are still harboring these energies of self-centeredness and self-interest. And this is one of the things that we need to outwork at a very big level, so people can come into that greater understanding of the oneness in which we exist as children of God. We here at the Institute of Christ Consciousness are here to assist your growth. And we have experience dealing with this subconscious bandwidth. And we have been through this ourselves. So we know how to facilitate personal sessions for you to outwork this in your own energy system. Forgiveness is a big part of this, to forgive the past and to ask to see your memory experiences in a higher context aligned with the perspective of spirit. We are here to serve you and assist you if you feel that this would be of great assistance to you. So in this time of this great outworking of our emotional memory patterns, what we are actually outworking is the pain of the past, the pain caused by separation from God. And even though the memory of what happened here will still be a planetary record, and it will still be a record of things that occurred to you that are on your soul, you won't be encumbered by feelings of pain, guilt, shame, or anything that is detrimental to your health. You will begin to feel a new sense of purpose and direction because that is your spirit contacting you. I hope this information has been helpful, and I look forward to sharing more with you about this wonderful time of correction that we are currently undergoing. And may you prosper and thrive during this time and let go of all that doesn't serve you. Thank you for taking this time to view this video. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to being with you again very soon. God bless you, and may you prosper on your journey to Christ consciousness. Bye-bye for now.